Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. We want to talk to Chesapeake Gold, and the new CEO, Jean-Paul Tsotsos, is here today with us. Good day to Canada. How are you, Jean-Paul?
Yeah, good day, Jochen. It's a bit cold here in Canada today. Finally starting to get some snow, but still a beautiful day with the sun out.
Fantastic. Same here in Switzerland, also beautiful and nice. And Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yeah, great. You are the new CEO of Chesapeake Gold. Maybe you can say some words to yourself, please, for our viewers and shareholders.
Yeah, so you just want to know a little bit about my background there?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So I actually started off my career in this mining industry as a geologist several years back. So I have an undergrad and master's in geology at the University of Toronto.
Mhm.
I was fortunate enough to join a junior exploration company called Royal Nickel, and it was a similar to Metates, a large deposit, and required a big tonnage operation basically to recover the gold and make a good return on investment.
Mhm.
It was nickel. At the time, we had, I think, 27 holes in the ground. By the time I finished, we had over 200 holes in the ground, over 200,000 meters of drilling. It was a very small company. So, as a geologist, I wasn't just focusing on the rock, but I was also working with the metallurgical team there, doing a lot of the work looking at the geometallurgy and understanding what rock recovers better than other rock, which will be pivotal for Chesapeake as we have
Mhm.
a new technology in Chesapeake. The company did a PEA, it did a PFS, it did a feasibility study while I was there, and I helped with all that. And then we
Mhm.
also IPO'd. Great experience. I did some consulting on the back of that for about a year, taking projects from PEA to PFS. And then I transitioned into an MBA at the University of Alberta in Natural Resources, Energy, Environment specialization. Really heavy focus on finance and economics of commodities. And then I started my tenure at BMO Capital Markets and Research. I was there
Mhm.
for about 4 years, covering both junior golds, uh, silvers, and large silver companies, as well as some streamers. It was actually at that point where I met Alan. Alan was at Silver Standard at the time.
Mhm.
He was the COO, and I was doing a tour of Marigold, and I had a great visit. It was very easy to see that Alan was a very capable person, and he
Mhm.
turned an operation around that was Gold Corp project, and he made it into one of the flagship assets within Silver Standard, and really what has taken Silver Standard to the next level.
Mhm. Super.
Uh, post BMO, I joined Hudbay Minerals. I was there for almost 5.5 years in the corporate development group, where I was in charge of strategy,
Mhm.
working on different mergers and acquisition targets, as well as I was pivotal in a bunch of acquisitions, including Mason Resources, based in
Mhm.
Nevada, the transition of our Snow Lake project in Manitoba from being a base metal rich deposit to a precious metal rich deposit, and looking at the processing methodology there and understanding the value of changing that from one type of deposit to another,
Mhm.
and using different processing techniques to
Super.
support the economics. And then fortunately, Alan came back, and I knew it was a great opportunity to join him and be his new VP Corp Dev IR.
Mhm.
So I switched over back in May of last year, and it's been great. We did a strategy session there in June with our board. We have a real good focus and a direction for the company. Unfortunately, as many know, Alan had some personal things he needed to take care of and had to step down. And Alan and the board asked me to step into this role and to really drive the next level of growth for the company. So,
Perfect.
what's great is I have a geology background. I have the experience of taking projects from PA to PFS, understanding the metallurgy, as well as doing early exploration. So, all things that are really applicable to Chesapeake and advancing in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say you are combining all of those worlds: business, geology, exploration, production, change of metals, change of methods, and applying new methods. And that is fantastic. That's exactly what this company needs. Super. Before we come directly to the company, just for understanding, because you had on 2nd January, you completed a vertical short form amalgamation with your wholly owned subsidiary, American Gold. What does that mean? Just for
Yeah,
understanding.
so Justin, and for our investors, it was kind of a housekeeping thing that
Mm-hmm.
how we had going on in the background for a few months. If you go back to our IAIF from 2023 and you have a look, there's a complicated structure of different companies that feed into Chesapeake,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole purpose of it was to simplify the business, simplify the reporting, and also give us additional flexibility. So basically, to say it simply, we had Chesapeake, and then below it, there's that company that amalgamated with Chesapeake, and then below that is the entity that holds the Mexican entity that holds Metates. So really, there was four entities between Chesapeake, or I guess two entities between Chesapeake
Mm-hmm.
and Metates, and we've taken two and we've basically combined those to simplify all of this. The one other aspect of it is our Gunpoint shareholding also has now moved up into Chesapeake,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing has changed fundamentally with the company.
Okay, super. So it's just like more technical thing to make things easier.
Correct.
Okay, super. Yeah, then let's come to some really nice stuff here. The Lucy project, your new gold discovery. So, what's
Yeah.
going on there? What is the plan for 2024? Because those are grades like 21 meters to 24 meters, grading 10.45 grams gold per ton. That's, yeah, exactly what you want to see, right?
Yeah, so I actually have that sample right here to show. So if I
Oh,
so
wow.
that's it there,
Uh-huh.
and you can see the rusting
Uh-huh.
around on the edges, and so that is, the gold is actually so far what we've seen is the gold at Lucy is oxide gold. And what's great about oxide gold is it's really easy to recover through standard heap leach or a CIL plant.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require the technology that we're working on for Metates, but it gives you a good opportunity um, to take something and bring it into production a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll just kind of pull something up here. So here, I don't know if you guys have seen this on our website, but this is basically a long section.
Mm-hmm.
And the sample that we were talking about is somewhere over, let's see, sure, pointing correctly. So that was right here. So that was the 10.5 grams over 3 meters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the whole intersection here, we have about 21 meters right from surface of 1.95 grams gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we go further to the east, we have 24 meters of 6.11 grams,
Mm-hmm.
and we have an individual sample in there of 3 meters, and that one's 19.4 grams. So you can really see the oxidation in there, and you can see that
Absolutely.
easy for investors to see what we're looking for.
No, it's a beautiful weathering, I would say.
Yeah. The next sample I'll show is actually on the far opposite side, so
Mhm.
over on the west side. And so this is this hole over here, again, right from surface. We have 24 meters of 3.95 grams
Mhm.
gold right from surface. And then we had an individual sample there that was running, that's it, this one here. So it's 6 grams in that one. You can see some of the oxidation, but
Mhm.
the gold's in there. And so that's really exciting stuff. Those are the same grades that one would consider mining underground as being
Mhm.
economic. And as I said, this is all right from surface, and it's oxide gold from what we've seen. And so much simpler processing technique,
Mhm.
and um, much more easier to get to the economics to make this a viable project.
Mhm.
Um, so this is, you're talking about in the future. You want to know where we're going next.
Mhm.
So this is the big map here. So you can see over. So this was the hole that was on the far west side. This was
Mhm.
the 24 meters of 4 grams, and then the far east side, which is over here, that's a 6 grams. So over that length, that's about 500 meters. So that's a significant area. And all across it, like I showed before, we have drill holes and we have good intersections across the hole. And where we're going to go next.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bunch of trenches. For example, trench 1 is over here that we haven't drilled on. And trench 1 had about 55 meters of 1.74 grams right at surface. And we haven't drilled under that. So if we wanted to, it's, easy wins. We can go drill under that. There's a couple of other trenches along that we have not drilled under too. So we can continue to drill under that, showing good grades. But really, there's 3 ways of looking at this. We can either continue to extend it to the west and to the east, but also underground. This is such an early discovery. We don't know which way it's dipping, whether it's dipping to the south or to the north. And so the plan would be to further extend the mineralization, whether to the east or the west, but also test underground. And my experience has shown that the best way to do that is on each of the sections, drill 1 hole to the north and then drill 1 hole to the south. And eventually you'll see, the trend is heading to the south or the trend's heading to the north. But right now, all we have is 25 meters depth of known mineralization. So there's a lot of potential to continue to grow this.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan. We're looking to kick off a new program at the start of this year, and we're hoping to have the drill on the property, drilling it. But we'd also look at doing a lot of geochem samples and doing a lot of mapping on the ground, because the best thing to do is you do the work ahead of time before you do the more expensive exploration technique, which tends to be drilling. So, just as we drilled under trenches, which is, we know there's mineralization at the surface. So when you drill under it, there's hopefully mineralization below. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to continue to expand east and west and add new areas where we haven't done the work yet for trenching and geochem samples and mapping and that sort. So,
Okay.
um,
So how
go ahead.
many meters you think you want to drill then? You have already an idea?
Yeah, I would say somewhere between 500 and 1,000 meters. And I guess the next question you're going to ask me, how expensive is drilling in Mexico? And, Mexico, the drilling's about $150 a meter, all in. So it's a relatively, compared to other jurisdictions, it's a relatively cheap method to do the exploration.
So those would be very short holes then, because with 1,000 meters, even if you drill like 50 meters, you can maybe 20 holes then.
Yeah, and that goes back to, we don't know exactly which direction it's dipping. So going out with a huge big program, right? We're still in the early stages where we're still getting a hold of how big this thing is, how far it extends east and west, and then also to depth. And so a more conservative approach on the next drill program, we'll likely do geophysics, probably mag on the back of this work, just to get a better understanding of where the trend heads, because it is in a skarn deposit, so it should have a good magnetic signal to it to help us to continue to narrow in and get some good drill results.
Okay, super. So lots of work for the new area. That sounds great. And this is then something you think you can bring, let's call it faster in production, of course, because lower requirements, lower costs.
Yeah, so the key thing here is when you get higher grades,
Mm,
right? To hit that hurdle in order to say that's an economic deposit doesn't take as much drilling and as much work. So it should be a quicker process to get it to,
yep.
when you're drilling off large deposits, right? That they grade, a little bit lower, that it takes more and more drilling in order to get that critical mass up. Whereas higher grade, the critical mass is much smaller.
Yep.
It's a faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's come to Metates, because this is your, I call it, flagship project. And we saw
Yeah.
already a very good PEA. And the last time I spoke with Alan, you were fully in the testing of those, what was it called, bottle rolling or the leach, column leaching, etc.
Yeah.
And so how is that going? Because I know it requires time, but so far you were quite successful, right?
Yeah. So I know I was talking about Lucy, how exciting that is. And you're right, Justin, to get the results, it's much quicker. The lab work at Metates takes time, unfortunately. And so having Lucy is a great thing because you can go and drill and put out more results and be more active in the market. whereas the Metates work and the lab work takes a bit more time. But the work at Metates and then the lab is actually really exciting as well. So I'll show this. This was put out back in September. You can see this black line here and then the kind of line that's hidden behind it. So the line hidden behind it was the initial work that was done back at the beginning that shows that we can oxidize the rock. And when we got it up to here, we got nearly 60% gold recovery and 54% silver recovery after the oxidation process was done. If we didn't oxidize and we just went straight into heap leaching the material, we basically got through the cyanidation something around 25% silver and about 30 to 35% gold. So we've shown that the oxidation process actually doubles the recovery. And you'll notice that in the PA, we wanted to get something closer to 70% recovery. So the work that's been done over the last 2 years has been trying to get this curve to be a little bit more steep, right? And so we did a whole bunch of work, and I would call this like the average of our phase 2 work, this one here. So the average results, it looks like we found a lot of examples of it being slower. But through that work, we found this new regime that we're getting a much faster recovery. And just to put this into context, everyone knows Thomas Edison, right? So Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, okay? And if you look back and you look through history, he made thousands and thousands of these, and they all failed. And he only had one successful attempt. And what did he do with that? He found out that tungsten's the best metal, and he went on and he started to produce them in mass, right? He didn't go back and test the 999 mistakes that he made, because he knows that they're not mistakes, but they're a learning process. But he took the one that worked best and he improved it. So this would be the example of our light bulb. We found the right set of ingredients to make it work faster, right? It's 50% faster than our best result previously.
Wow.
Right? And so this was released back in September. This has continued to go off. I'm not going to say exactly where, but it's been continuing to trend. But we did put 2 new columns on the back of this that are also on the curve, and they're moving up. And the goal would be to have, at the end of this, we're taking them off at 60 days, 120 days, and then 180 days. So we're going to have 3 samples that come off at different times. And they're all going to be put under the same conditions through cyanidation. And then we're going to look at the recovery. Okay? And the expectation is, 60 days, you're going to have the lowest amount of recovery, right? At 120, you're going to have a bit higher recovery. And then 180 days, we'll have a little bit more recovery, right? And at some point in that, you will find that there's an optimal point, right? We're working towards the PA of 70% recovery, so that would be the optimal point. But you never know. Based on the amount of time it takes and the cost of the reagents, it might come out that 72% might be the best recovery rate that we get. It could be 68%. But that will be the basis of the continuation of the evaluation of Metates. So we're heading in the right direction. The work is being done in the lab in the background. I went to the lab in November and I saw the columns and saw them working. And I'm planning to go next week as well back out there for both roundup and for a chance to visit the lab and see the columns. So the work's still happening in the background. We are testing other chemicals to see if there's even faster rates. So the work continues, and it's very exciting.
Okay, so how much more time do you think you need? A year or 2 years? What's your feeling? I know it's guessing and not a forward-looking statement, of course, but just to you have a feeling on that? I mean, it's like, as you said, it's in the lab, so it's science, and you never can say exactly how much time you need until you have it. Thomas Edison took also longer than he thought, but what's your feeling?
Yeah, so I can definitely say that it is working. So like, here's the material from Metates, unoxidized, and then here it is oxidized. So you can see there's a difference in color, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks like it's been rusted,
Yeah.
right? Which is basically oxidation. in layman terms.
But is
Um,
the brown
and when
one?
it
But
comes,
that's not crushed. That's not powder, right? This brown one in
no,
your
no,
hand
no.
now.
This is, sorry. It looks like it, but
Yeah,
there
still
are
stones.
rocks in here.
Yeah.
There are
Okay.
stones in here. You can see them there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when it comes to timing, once
Mhm.
we have those results, we'd have a better understanding of
Mm.
when the next step can be triggered, right?
Mm. Okay.
So a lot of work has been done.
Mhm.
We're a lot further ahead than we were 2 years ago.
Super.
And at that point we'll have a junction point where, you know, it's a gating item where we can give the market a better understanding of timing and
Mhm.
what's the next steps.
Yeah.
But you know, based on the work we've shown so far, it looks like we're
Mhm.
heading in the right direction.
Okay, super. No, because also the PEA numbers were already very good, and I mean you did that at 1,600 gold, $22 silver, so it's all working in your favor. When you
Hmm.
can now bring up also the rate for recovery would be also fantastic, and because the rest is already fine, so that would be then a fantastic project to really be brought into production. Let's say by the end of the decade, right?
Yeah, if we can show that we can achieve the PEA
Hmm.
recoveries, then that'll solidify the recoveries on the PEA.
Hmm.
The other aspect that isn't incorporated, if you go back and look, the resource that based on the PEA is actually the previous resource that was out there.
Hmm.
So it doesn't incorporate all the metallurgical drilling that
Hmm.
was done and the increased grades we saw in the metallurgical work and
Hmm.
the actual drilling.
Yeah.
And so the new resource that's out there is actually 70% higher grade,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And so that's actually not incorporated in the PA. So
Hmm.
that brings us also, you know, on the positive side when it
Hmm.
comes to what are the ounces in situ in the
Okay,
ground.
super fantastic. As we are talking already almost 22 minutes, coming to an end, but I have two more questions. The first question is the acquisition of the Alderley Gold Corp, and what does it mean? Copper sulfide oxidation versus the gold silver pyrite oxidation. What is it with that acquisition?
Yeah. So this is going back to when Chesapeake and Alderley merged together,
Hmm.
and this is bringing in Alan's ideas from the work he was doing in Alderley and
Hmm.
the technology. So it's the technology, but it's taught what Jocelyn, you want to talk about this slide, right?
Exactly. Hmm.
So if anyone went to our corporate presentation, maybe you'll put it up. It's page
We
13.
put it up in the interview also. No worries. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what's great is Alan worked in the copper space for decades. Actually, I
Hmm.
just came from the copper space. I was at Hud Bay Minerals for the last 5.5 years. Um, and the copper space has been doing copper sulfide oxidation for almost 30 years,
Hmm.
right? Alan was one of the pioneers. He was working at Spence, working on it. And the process that they use, and you'll see the comparison, you know, they crushed a 1/2 inch, then they did an agglomeration drum and they mixed it all up. And then they use this acidic solution
Hmm.
to basically prime the material and oxidize. So oxidize is basically taking the sulfide minerals inside and it opens it up. So then the next set of chemicals that go on in the case of copper, it's, you know, sulfuric acid.
Hmm.
Once it goes on, it's able to pick up all the copper.
Hmm.
Okay. The way they did it in the copper space, they did a single lift. And then once the material was oxidized, then they moved it onto another pad, which is where they did the heap leaching. Um, in there, they also used oxygen.
Hmm.
And so this whole thing is basically we've taken and carbon copied for our technology, right? The crushing size might not be exactly half an inch. You know, we've tried various different crushing sizes. Um, the actual chemicals we use in the agglomeration drum, instead of being acidic, we're actually using alkaline solutions on our side. Um, but you know, we try to keep it single lift as well, forced air injection, and those are the key points in order to, you know, it works in the copper space, the whole oxidation of sulfides. So why would you try something different in the gold space?
Hmm.
You try
Hmm.
to mimic what works, and so that's really what Alan had brought through that
Okay.
acquisition is both that and then the actual chemistry within the alkaline system.
Mhm. Okay, super. Last question. How much is in the treasury? Meaning, are you financed to do that all for this year, next year?
Yeah, so we have about 22 million cash still. You know, doing the exploration work at Lucy is really you know, it's not a very expensive endeavor,
Hmm.
as I already mentioned. You know, it's not really costly to do drilling.
Hmm.
Um, The other part is the lab work. The lab work as well. The burn rate on that is really low. I think we've basically averaged about 5 million a year over the last few years. And so we have a lot of run room here to continue to advance both the technology, Metates, and Lucy all together. So it's a unique opportunity. And I'm very thankful that both Randy and Alan had a wonderful team that I've taken the reins over. They're the same group that discovered Al Sazal and made San Francisco a very exciting opportunity for our previous investors. And I'm hoping to do something similar at Lucy, and then look at the technology and see how we can advance our flagship project of Metates and really take that to the next level, because that's really the big one.
Okay, super. Then we keep fingers crossed. We wish you all the best for this year. Going to the next level, that's always good. And I think the gold, silver, and copper prices will move this year also into our direction and not in the opposite one. They shall go north, which is great. And yeah, I would say we talk soon after the next news. Thank you very much, Jean-Paul. And yeah, take care and all the best. Keep it running.
Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jean-Paul Tsotsos, and he's the CEO of Chesapeake Gold. And you heard it, the Lucy discovery is, yeah, to me a little bit like a game changer, because that could be really a project on itself. Could be fast developed. It would be open pittable, fantastic rates from surface, and they will do some work here also this year, where we're starting very fast, as Jean-Paul intended here. The drill rig shall arrive soon and then really rock it. And also Metates, the column testing is moving forward. That's exactly what we want to see. And yeah, I would say we keep you posted. Check out Chesapeake Gold for sure. This is an outstanding company with a great team and great work so far. And I think we will hear a lot here also in the future from them. So thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.